Hello, everyone, and welcome to GenAICon. I am delighted to have with us here Nicolás Pimiento, here from Colombia. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Redek, and Redek is a Colombian startup that implements and optimizes electronic dispute resolution platforms. So over to you. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Francesca, for having me and to present this thrilling subject. I'm very happy to be with you all. And I think it's really exciting to talk about these innovations in the field of law. So let's get started. My field of work is online dispute resolution, ODR, which is a discipline that's been around for over 30 years now. Ever since the existence of the internet, the companies realized the need for online also dispute resolution. So if you can have e-commerce or online commerce, why not online dispute resolution? And what I want to present to you today is why this is necessary and why it's necessary to take it to the judiciary, which is far left behind from what's been done in the private sector. So look at India, which is one of the most extreme cases on how the judiciary works. Over 50 million pending cases, both criminal and civil cases, and it will basically take 300 years to clear the country's judicial backlog. And of course, the key reasons for that, for India, but for many countries, and particularly for countries in Latin America, Asia, and the developing world, is that there's a high number of judicial vacancies. The number of judges is not proportional to the number of cases they have to deal with. There's no sufficient judicial infrastructure, and not only in terms of courtrooms, but also technological infrastructure. Just to tell you, in Colombia, there are judges in the rural areas that do not have access to a printer, for instance, far less internet. And then we have judicial processes which are outdated, that are not fit for the need for the use of technology, and they do not have a proper organization of what could be done with the use, for instance, of the technologies that we're going to discuss today. So according to the World Justice Project, measuring the effectiveness of justice, there are many countries, and with European countries heading the list, but we have India number 179, and countries like Venezuela, our neighbor here, in number 142, which is the bottom of the list. So many people perceive justice as ineffective, and Latin America is the second region in the world where people have more mistrust to the judicial institutions. So with this context and with this need for implementing technology for improving the situation, I'm going to discuss how GenAI can make a difference. First, with the GenAI in general, and the general uses that could be applied for the judiciary or dispute resolution, how we can have other technologies around the world for AI-assisted conflict resolution. Then we will discuss the case of study of Redek, what we're doing, some particular applications and developments that we're doing with the use of GenAI, and a conclusion on how that can be done. So many people wonder whether GenAI can be applied for legal instances in general, since we tend to perceive that justice is a human endeavor, and that we should leave it, at least mostly, for human beings to do. But there are tools with GenAI that, depending on the input data, can have huge implications on the way the judiciary works. For instance, if you have proper data samples, you can have information on large language models that can be useful for decision-making or research or suggestions for parties and the judges to deal with. And then, and of course, what we do already for dispute resolution in general is often mechanized. In Colombia, but in many countries, many of the decisions are just copy and pasted, and they're just the name of the parties is changed, but the general decision, it's basically the same. Perhaps the final decisions in cases might vary, but that will depend on how the judge deals with them, because many cases, even the substantive discussions are also mechanized. So the basic applications that we could think of that will be of help for the judiciary, it's doc review and doc generation. And we'll discuss those two, because with those two, we can achieve more efficiency and accuracy on legal activities in general, but of course, on the work of the court systems, but not only the court systems, arbitration, mediation, so that's alternative dispute resolution, and even conflict dispute resolution for companies or for other institutions that are not public. So you will start saving a lot of time with the creation of legal documents or with the document review. For doc review, many times judges or arbitrators or mediators have to deal with huge number of documents, and with the automated doc review that you get with GenAI, there's a cost minimization, and there's assisted review workflows that allows for parties to deal with documents in a much smoother way, and with a predictive coding for summaries. So you will have access to evidence, access to documents, access to pleadings of parties in a much easier way. Of course, this requires transparency and explainability of AI, because you have to be able to rely on those summaries, on the results of the doc review. And the counterpart to this is doc generation. With Gen AI powered text generation, you can have drafts of what is done in a conflict resolution workflow. So if you have the proper learning algorithms, you can generate text, and this will be flexible, adaptable, and many times it's extremely useful. It makes a proper draft that it's far better than you could do with perhaps less experienced human assistance. And also, with recurrent neural networks, you can have better results with, say, having more coherent pieces of text and the integration of natural language. For instance, you can train the artificial intelligence to have the text in the language with the technical level that it's required for the decision, but also that can be translated, if you wish, to a more common language that any citizen will be able to understand. So you'll have those two levels of both technical and a more natural or common use of language. So then the main benefits of Gen AI, that in general for the legal profession, but particularly for dispute resolution, you will be able to stimulate creative thinking with doc review done already for you in the context of you as a party or you as a judge or arbitrator. You will have more creative thinking because you will have a reliable basis. So you will do what humans do best, is being creative and trying to do your own contribution rather than mechanizing work or doing repeated tasks. And of course, the result of this will be the raising of productivity and user satisfaction, because you will have better documents in a shorter period of time. So apart from doc generation and doc review, you'll have a third application, which is related to cybersecurity. With AI-generated content, you can have a better management of systems that can help in the control of security risks. So it will be better to look into documents and to prevent cyber attacks and maintain privacy protection on those virtual platforms. So you can enhance the work of judges, not only on what they do on a daily basis, but on the security of the data that they manage currently. And how this relates specifically to online dispute resolution. So you have all those general applications, but ODR is basically the use of platform, which is basically a technology that encompasses other technologies for the proper and smooth resolution of conflicts. And now the trend is for even the prevention of conflicts. So you will use ODR for parties to start interacting from the very beginning, from the creation of a claim up until the final decision. All documents, all evidence, it's managed through the same platform. And there you can incorporate artificial intelligence solutions, and in particular, Gen AI. So which applications from what we have discussed will be useful for ODR? First, knowledge support systems. Basically, those are advanced search systems that have a sense of understanding of meaning of the relevant information. So you can use that for better research. You can have a better knowledge support that can examine norms and give them to both parties and the third neutral, the person that is in charge of deciding, that being a judge or an arbitrator or a mediator, on how that works. And we have examples of how that's been made, for instance, for mediation. You can have, on the basis of knowledge support systems, a first interpretation on how to deal with a case with a proper suggestion for the mediator to give to the parties. So say it's a labor case, and according to the analysis of the knowledge support system, the claimant, the worker, will have very little chance of winning the case. Then what the mediator does is he says to the parties in a persuasive way, look, according to this analysis, it will be useful for you not to pursue this claim because there is little chances for you to win this case in litigation. So its knowledge support systems can lead to suggestions in the framework of ODR platforms. And also, you can incorporate specialized search engines, not general ones, but search engines that will be trained with data for the dispute at hand. So say we have database for family law cases. A search engine will provide the proper norms and the cases or the case law that would enhance or improve the decision-making of the third neutral or the people that are involved in the use of that platform. And this can get to a second level as decision support, not just knowledge management. So you will have in the platform the access to the norms and the access to what's relevant in legal sources for a case at hand. But the decision support systems would allow the parties to have a draft decision. As we were discussing before, if you can generate text, this text can take the form of a judicial decision or the decision of an arbitrator. So you can have a procedural order, for instance, drafted out on the basis of weighing different factors and computing optimal results, of course, expressed in natural language with large language models. So you will have an optimal solution for a simple procedural discussion, analyzing the position of the parties and allowing the human being to give the final word, the adjudication. So if you have a draft decision, then you can later uphold it and present it to the parties, or you can just reject it or edit it. An example of this being applied for a public policy is in the Multnomah County in the US. So out of information of criminal incidents and arrests, the data is taken to be accessed by authorities to have criminal policy decisions. This same idea would be applied for third neutrals, say arbitrators or judges who use ODR platforms for their decision making. There's actually is a project in Colombia which follows the same line for the Constitutional Court on cases dealing with the right to health. And another application on ODR will be related to intelligent interface systems. So basically systems that will be able to be edited by the user according to the user's own needs. So basically there's always a gap on the usability of a platform. The fact that you could edit this platform at your own will, having, say, new modules on the platform or new functionalities that you will not code yourself, but you will code with the aid of artificial intelligence. Another use will be the translation of natural language into code. I say, I want to have the documents organized in a certain manner. So you do that in your interface, and then that will be shown as a new module on your ODR platform. So imagine that you can make your platform grow as you wish. So this is what the future of ODR looks like. And Gensim, for instance, it's a Python library where you can module tasks to navigate various documents, and you can give some instructions to this software to enhance the functions of your ODR platforms. So you can say, hey, I want to look into these documents in this way, and please take this and that information from everything that you're looking into. Of course, the advantages of this will be the possibility of processing large amounts of data quickly and efficiently. If I can give natural language instructions to my software, to my ODR platform, of course, I will be dealing with the processes more swiftly, and I will be deciding in a faster resolution time and lower costs. So it will be a huge help for the decision makers. And then after all of what we've discussed, you may say it's a bit futuristic, it's very hard to apply, and it will take long time to do so. Well, I want to present to you the case of study of what we're doing with Redek. This is the third part of our presentation. Redek, it's a company that I head, and it's the basic translation into Spanish of ODR. Online dispute resolution in Spanish is Resolución Electrónica de Conflictos, Redek. And what we're doing with our platform is we're trying to incorporate artificial intelligence in general for the improvement of our platform. So first, we have developed a chatbot as a knowledge management system that can be useful for the parties that interact with our software. A chatbot will be basically a tool for, say, parties, claimant and respondent, or the third neutral, mediator, arbitrator, or eventually the judge, that will like to know more about what's being discussed in the case, or how to use the platform, or if they have technical issues. So with natural language, people will be able to make their questions and have answers right away. This is a more evolution form of chatbot, because it's not just automated answers, but conversations in natural language that will enhance the experience of the user, being a third neutral or a party, on how to use the platform as such. So beyond a chatbot, what we're getting is an AI knowledge management system, where you as an user or as an arbitrator, you can get advice, you can have insights, you can have better information, you can have, for instance, decisions on other cases, you can have the legal sources at hand. The particular application that we did, it's related to disputes on financial and savings cases. So what we do is we provide the user with advice on financial education that will, of course, prevent conflicts in the future. So this is one of our products called Creo, and this is what we're looking for. Of course, where do we take the data from? From large language models, from information that can be useful for the user, applicable to the ODR platform at hand. So it's a general application for our platform. Now, a second step that we're working on is on a Gen AI agent. So it's a bit more than we discussed with the chatbot, because the agent will help parties to reach, for instance, in adjudication or judicial proceedings, read people's emotions and helping them to see what's going on their minds. This will be particularly useful on the first module for platform, which is negotiation. So with sentiment analysis, we can know how people are writing their text and if they're negotiating in their platform. This is, for instance, has been already done by the Cyber Justice Lab in Canada, that it can be translated into a more subtle or a more friendlier way of understanding the sentiment of the people, the feelings that they have, and to have a better understanding for the other party. It's more empathic. So say if I write an angry message to my counterparty through the chat, what the sentiment analysis will do is they will translate it into a better or more open and a message that it's more prone to settlement and to a conclusion or agreed solution to the conflict. And third, and this goes even beyond, it's risk response management. And it's using Gen AI, in this case for document review, to prevent conflict. What we basically do is we take the risk source of a company's database on the report of potential situations of risk. What the platform does, and it's an extra module for the identification of relevant legal risks, they do take this information in natural language, and the engine will do a classification on how important this risk might be, from low, medium, or high. So if it's a relevant risk, it will present a report for the decision makers that will have an identified risk and will be able to make decisions on the basis of that relevant risk. So say that it's an automated alert, of course, coming from Gen AI, and it's a written report in natural language. Then you have a committee of people dealing with those disputes that will know how to prevent litigation in the future. So with this basis, the human beings, and this is knowledge management support, would use this as a basis for a final decision making will be a human, that the source of this decision making will be human. And with this memorandum, you will have a final decision which will combine both the identification made by the Gen AI and the work that has been done by humans in analyzing it out of their own experience and their own expectations on a potential risk that can become litigation. So you see, we're going not just from the dispute resolution, but we are trying to get into dispute prevention. And just to conclude, what ODR does, and this is said by Richard Susskind in his book, Online Courts and the Future of Justice, is go well beyond dispute resolution. And what we have with alternative dispute resolution is dispute containment. But with the use of Gen AI and automation, we can have dispute prevention and more so legal help promotion. So we have this 4-level, and it's a much higher sense of justice that we get if we are able to promote people in better environments. So that's why the identification of legal risks is key for having less conflicts in our society. But of course, this is not easy. We've been doing this exercise for almost 3 years now. And when you want to train Gen AI, you have to go through a lot of holes, a lot of bumps in the way. And because the information might not be reliable. And this is what happens when you want to have ChatGPT as a direct source for decision making in today in 2024. because ChatGPT is not still trained to provide proper legal advice. So you will have to train it yourself. And this is a bumpy way. You will have to have proper training, and you have to have proper data input to have the result that you're looking for. And what's been done with automation and with artificial intelligence solutions so far, it can be too complicated. It might not be user-friendly, because we think of automation as something heavy and something difficult to do, and we have to make it lean. Because we believe, and we do believe that in Redek, we have to look for simple solutions with high impact. And this is a higher sense of justice, of course, that we will be able to apply not only for companies in the prevention of their legal risk, but potentially for the judicial system as a whole, in a new dynamic of how we conceive conflict and how we deal with it as a society. So that will be all. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your presentation. Could you tell us a little bit about your roadmap for the rest of 2024 and what we have to look forward to?
Yes, Francesca. Well, we're working on Redek in several projects. What our philosophy is that we want to have customized ODR platforms. As you may have noticed, we have the general platform that can be adapted to the needs of a company or a public institution or an arbitration and mediation center, you name it. Our roadmap for 2024 is to continue with those particular projects which lead to a better use of GenAI. So for instance, for legal risk management, we have a project which is very interesting with a company in the energy field in Colombia, and we will look for a way to dispute prevention. We're also working on a project, for instance, with Ecuador for dispute resolution and how we can use the chatbot for assisted AI negotiation. And then we're trying to work on projects with telecommunication companies for smooth resolution of low value conflicts. So high volume, low value conflicts where you can have a lot of consumers claiming for $5, $10, and of course the application of automation will be ideal for that. So our roadmap looks in many directions, and we really want to have them really not to look into it as something extremely difficult or something that will be done in 10 years, but something that we can do now.
Fantastic. And do you think your product could be integrated in like customer service?
Yes, of course. Precisely in the telecommunications project I was telling you about, what we want to do is we want to be the final mile right after the customer service team has done their work. When you know that the consumer will go through the authority for a claim, a legal or judicial claim, that's when we will have the ODR platform in place. And the ODR platform will help them or would lead them with mediation. That's how it's designed, with mediation to prevent them from going to the authority. Because of course, each of those litigations, say, even if you're claiming $5 or $10, then for the company, it can be $500 because you will have to have lawyers involved. And this one single case may take 2 years to be decided. So of course, if you have ODR as the last mile, and of course, you add AI into it at the very end, then you will prevent many conflicts from reaching the consumer authority. And that will be, of course, a better outcome for both the company, but the consumers who will avoid 2 years of litigation.
Absolutely. It saves money and all for companies on the sort of customer service side, but then also mediation is a fantastic way of avoiding having to go to the courts and years of back and forwards and expensive lawyers. Fantastic solution, and thank you so much for your time today, and I hope we can have you back soon.
Thank you, Francesca, for the invitation. I hope I can come back soon.
Thank you.
All right.